Conditional sentences. There are three conditions: open condition, imaginary condition, and unfulfilled condition. Now, let us understand what conditional sentences are. Now, conditional sentences generally start from if clause. Now, the sentences that contain if, they are conditional sentences. Now, to begin the things, we will start from open condition. Now, this one is if clause, that means it is a conditional clause. And this one will be the result clause. Now, in the open condition, you will get two sentences, or we can say two clauses, and together they will form a sentence, which we can say they will form a open condition sentence. Now, under this, we will have to use tenses. Now, in the conditional clause, the tense will be simple present, whereas in the result clause, the tense will be simple future tense. That means we will apply some condition in the present time and the result will come in the future time. For example, if John works hard, he will pass the test with good marks. Now, see this one, if, that means this one is a conditional clause sentence. Now, if John works hard, so which tense we have used? We have used simple present tense. We have used the first form of the verb over here. And the second one, we have used will along with the verb. That means simple future tense. So in this, we use simple present and simple future tense. Now, John has applied some condition, and the condition has applied in the present time. That means if John works hard, when he will work hard? In the present time. So the result will come in the future time. So what will happen? If John works hard, he will pass the test with good marks. So he will pass. When he will pass? In the future time. The condition is that he will have to work hard in the present time. So under this, we use present and future tense. Coming on to the second condition, that is imaginary condition. Now under this, the structure will be something like this. Now we can say this is a structure number A. Coming on to structure number B and C, the structure will be same, only there will be a minor difference. Over here we will use were instead of second form of the verb, and over here we will use had. The rest of the sentence will be, or the structure will be same. Okay, now let us understand these three sentences or the three structures which we have written over here. Now all these three are conditional clause, and the remaining these three are result clause. So there has to be a condition clause, there has to be a result clause. Now under this, the tenses used will be simple past and simple past. In the first condition, we have used simple present and simple future, whereas in the imaginary condition, we will use simple past and simple past. Now let us understand these three structures. Now in the first structure, we have used the second form of the verb. We have used the second form of the verb, this one. Whereas the structure is the same, but over here we have used were, and the third one we have used had. So we have to remember this thing, that as far as imaginary condition is concerned, the structure can have the second form of the verb. At times it can have were, at times it can have had. Now the big question is when to use the second form of the verb, when to use were, and when to use had. Okay, now coming on to the V2 or the second form of the verb. Whenever we get a sentence, and suppose over here we get a blank. For example, I can say, now looking at this example, if Rahul dash well, he would score a century. Now first of all, we have been given if over here. So automatically this becomes a conditional sentence. Now a blank is given over here, so we are not sure what sort of a condition this one is, but we can find out the condition from the second clause. Over here we have used would followed by the first form of the verb. Now would and first form of the verb is used in the imaginary condition. The sentence is a imaginary condition sentence. Now when we are sure about this thing, that this is the imaginary condition, so automatically we have to use either second form of the verb or were or had. Now in the bracket over here we have been supplied with the verb. Whenever we are supplied with the verb, we always use the second form of the verb over here. Now the second form for play will be played. So the right answer will be, if Rahul played well, he would score a century. We are just imagining. In both the clauses, we will use simple past tense. Rahul played is a simple past tense, and would score is also a simple past tense. So this one is clear when to use the second form of the verb. Now coming on to were and had, when to use them. Now were generally is used for some imagination, whereas had always shows some possession. Now this can be clear with an example. Now first of all, as I told you earlier also, whenever we get a blank, the first thing is to look at the if clause. Whenever we get a if clause, it's a conditional sentence. Now since the blank is provided to us, always look at the second clause. Over here would and first form of the verb is given to us. This means it's an imaginary condition. Now in the bracket we have been supplied with the be verb. Now whenever we are supplied with the be verb, we always used either were or had with them. Now when to use were and when to use had. This I discussed earlier also, that we will use we will use were with some imagination, and we will use had with some possession. Now coming on to the sentence, if I dash a bird. Now if I will show some possession, so what I will do, if I had a bird. Now if you go with that sort of a sentence, so that doesn't make any sense. Why? Because if I had a bird, that means if I had a bird, if I had been a owner of a bird, so I would fly in the sky. So it doesn't make any sense. Whereas if we supply were over here, that means we are just imagining that if I were a bird myself, so under that condition I would have flown in the sky. That means I would fly in the sky. Okay, to make things more clear, let us come to one more example. Again, if clause is there, and then would and first form of the verb is given to us. It's a conditional sentence. It's an imaginary condition. And over here, be verb is given to us. Now, I told you earlier also, whenever be verb is supplied to us, we can use were, we can use had. And we have to use our own logic because were generally shows imagination, whereas had shows possession. Now, if I use were over here, if Rani were a car, she would drive it. Doesn't make any sense. So, what we will do, we'll use had over here. That means it shows the ownership, the possession. That means if Rani had a car, she had been a owner of a car. So under that situation, she would drive it. I hope things are clear to you. Now coming on to the last condition, that is a unfulfilled condition. For this, the structure will be condition clause, and this one is a result clause. Now for this, the tenses used will be past perfect because we are using had and excuse me, and then third form the verb. And over here also, the tense used will be past perfect. So with both the clauses, we will use past perfect. In imaginary condition, we have used simple past tense, and with the open condition, we have used present and future tenses. Now coming on to the example, if Rohan dash hard, he would have passed the exams. Now, if is given to us, it's a conditional sentence, and then would, have, and then third form of the verb is given to us. That means past perfect. So with past perfect, we always use past perfect. So the past perfect for a work will be had worked. So if Rohan had worked hard, it's a past perfect clause, and then he would have passed the exams. So this will become an unfulfilled conditional sentence. I hope conditional sentences are clear to you. Thank you.